Hello guys, Josh MC2000 here, and today I'm going to be doing my thoughts on Red Hood and the Outlaws Rebirth versus Red Hood and the Outlaws New 52, or the original Red Hood and Outlaws, whichever you prefer to call it. Both series are written by Scott Lobdell. I think they have different artists. I'm actually pretty sure they have different artists, because there's a noticeable quality in art. Because, I mean, these things, along with Batman, have probably got some of the best art in, this and the Batman run and the Detective Comics run have probably got some of the best art in DC at the moment. Some of the most realistic as well. Minus the odd issue. Like, I had a gripe with the art in this issue, and it's because they got the guy back from this. I have a few bones to pick with this series as a whole, the New 52 series. And I'll kind of explain my bone pick in another video, but I'll go over it briefly in this. And this is because I think with this, I haven't heard of Scott Lobdell as a writer up until this, and this is the first time I've heard of him on Red Hood. So I think they gave him this new character, Red Hood, and he's just like, oh, okay. How do I write this guy? You know, it's like, you know when you're a writer, yeah? And you have a comfort zone. You have, like, things you feel you're pretty good at writing, yeah? I get the vibe that Scott Lobdell, when he picked up Red Hood for the first time, it was very much out of that comfort zone, and he didn't exactly know what direction he should have gone down. And as a consequence, the series has got a bit of an identity crisis because it doesn't really know what it wants to be. Like, you know, sometimes it's trying to pull off this edgy vigilante story, and other times you're in fucking space and it's like Star Wars. And it's like, you're just thinking like, you know, pick a tone, man, and stick to it. And also, New 52 had this massive push for a lighter tone towards the back end of it. And as a consequence, I think it also got screwed over by that. It's the last couple of issues, but it's mainly Red Hood and Arsenal that got affected by that. But you can tell the last couple of issues, there's a different art style, there's a different tone to it as well. It more affects Red Hood and Arsenal. But, you know, you've got Volume 1 here, Redemption, Volume 2 here, the Starfire. You have Volume 1 here from Red Hood and Outlaws, or basically the content of Volume 1, because I got them in issues. You have Volume 1, the Dark Trinity, and then you have Volume 2, which I think is going to be called Who's Artemis. I think the issue stuff for this is only available at the moment. I don't think they've actually released a trade paperback yet for that. But it's basically the content from that trade. This is issues 1 to 7. This is issues 1 to 7. This is 1 to 14. This is 1 to 15, because 15 just came out yesterday. So that's why I decided to do this, because I did say I'd kind of do a comparison video. And I did say I'd kind of have Rebirth in here as well. No, pre-52, sorry, in here as well. But Jason didn't really have his own book other than Lost Days in pre-52. So, you know, Lost Days was probably about it. And even then, that was like a 6-issue mini. It wasn't really like the same sort of extent these are, that are like 7 volumes. You know, it's like, you know, this is probably, you're talking about the same sort of size as Nightwing and Batgirl. But, you know, we don't know how long this is going to run for. I hope this runs for a lot longer, because I think Scott Lobdell, he's got a tone down with what he had a tone down, but the past couple of issues I've been concerned he's going to go back to doing what he's done with this, not knowing what the fuck he wants to do, because, the first volume has a vigilante tone. It's set in Gotham. He's working undercover in Black Mask's organization. So it's got a vigilante tone. It's very much back to the basics of what Red Hood is. This one, these ones, however, focus more on Artemis and Bizarro. Jason is more of a background character in those, which, again, in this background character, because the emphasis was on Starfire. I mean, hell, the volume name is even The Starfire. So, yeah. Kind of the same thing. Ooh, focus. Where's the sun gone all of a sudden? It was gone really fucking dark. But it's you know, there's definitely, you can definitely tell with the artist. There's different quality in art. Because, I mean, like, this is the this is the kind of stuff you've got for this one, and also the art style changed in this midway through. So that's the kind of art style you got in that, and trying to avoid showing too much of my jeans and stuff, but it's a bit difficult because I'm trying to do this one-handed. This is the kind of art, and also in Jason's flashbacks there's a saturated color, whereas in this one Jason has a flashback and there's like no difference in art style whatsoever. Just let me, yeah, see, look, that's a flashback to the events of Under the Hood, basically. Because he sees Nightwing's costume, causes flashback, and the flashback is pretty much identical art style to what is like in the previous page. Like, probably that to be fair is actually probably one of my favorite images of Red Hood. This had some great art, but it was let down by its bloody story. I mean, I had some major bugbears with Volume 3, and one of the issues in Volume 7 is probably the best of the bunch of these. Whereas Rebirth, it's still too early to tell, but Rebirth's been pretty good so far. Scott Lobdell's got an idea of what he's doing, and everything flows nicely as well. There's no massive disjoints. Like, I would argue Red Hood and Outlaws is probably one of the only series in Rebirth so far you can read without having to read anything else. Because Deathstroke, I had to buy several Teen Titans issues for Lazarus Contract. And Superman leans heavily on stuff like Doomsday Clock. Batman and Detective Comics, I think, are fairly interconnected. In this, there's... But also, I think these two series connect, though. Because, I mean, like, he has the All Blades in the Who is Artemis storyline, which is a weapon from this series that about sums up everything fucking wrong with this series that I hate. Sorry for me swearing again, it's just... some of this stuff vexes me in New 52. Scott Lobdell, what the hell were you doing? Jesus Christ, man. Straighten your head. I mean, literally, Scott Lobdell, for me, I was skeptical when I heard Scott Lobdell was writing it again. I'm thinking, like, why is Scott Lobdell writing this again? Seriously? He fucked up, he shouldn't be on this book anymore. Like, that was my initial reaction. I thought, why the hell is Scott Lobdell still writing this after the tremendous fuck up, which was New 52. Because, I mean, New 52 was, in the New 52 Red Hood and Outlaws, it sums up a lot of the problems that New 52 had as a whole. Which was not knowing what the tone they wanted to go for was, because they had a massive, they saw Batgirl was doing, there was a time where Batgirl was doing well, and it had a really light, campy tone, and they tried to copy that, and, like, these got turned into Red Hood and Arsenal, and, Red Hood and Arsenal went for that really campy tone, and it was just, it doesn't work for every single character, like, it's just, it's horrible, and, it's just, like, I really do get the vibe that, The annoying thing is about New 52 is one of the issues in Volume 7, which I'm not going to address today, I'm going to address in another video, but that showed so much potential, and that irritated me so much. And, Rebirth, I picked this up, and I read this, and it sang more from the hymn sheet of that single issue. So I'm thinking, you know what, Scott Lobdell? I'll give you another chance. I'll read Red Hood and Outlaws Rebirth. Whereas if Red Hood and Outlaws Rebirth was more like this, and 4, 5, and 6, I would have been like, hell no, Scott Lobdell, you're not having my money again. Get out of here. but it rang true to the Future's End volume. Because the volume I'm on about that was really good was the Red Hood and Outlaws Future's End. Because they got rid of Starfire and Arsenal, and they took the chain off Red Hood. And it was like, yeah, that's what the whole series should have been. Red Hood and Arsenal should have just been supporting characters that were there around the Red Hood character. Because like half the time, it felt like Scott Lobdell was like more interested in writing around the supporting characters. And it just. But I must admit, the Rebirth ones so far have been a lot better. The opening story, Dark Trinity, is up against Black Mask. It's a lot more focused, and it introduces the team in a lot better way. Like, it took probably about the same amount of issues it took New 52 to introduce the characters, but it went about it in a more fluid way. It was a lot more believable. Whereas, like, New 52, you expected to believe Red Hood just washed up on the correct island, and, you were supposed to believe that he just found the newspaper cutting about his friend in Karak. And also, they're connected. These two series are connected. So is Batman and New 52 Batman. They're connected. It's not a... I thought originally Rebirth was a fresh reboot. But after reading, I didn't believe it when people were saying to me they're connected. But after reading the Red Hood and it was after Jason's comment in this issue, issue 10 of the Rebirth, I realised it's connected because he actually references the events in this book, because they go to Karak, or their version of Iraq, in this book to get him out of a very sticky situation. And, he actually straight up references those events, and he's like, yeah, the last time I went to Karak was then, and I've never wanted to go back since. And look, here's Artemis dragging me back to Karak, the last place on Earth I want to go. And it's like, I kind of like that. It picks what was good from the New 52 and leaves the rest. Okay, he still kept the All Blades, but I suppose you really had to have a weapon that makes Jason viable against magic users, especially given the fact he has Artemis on the team, which is an Amazonian warrior. Because you might be dealing with some more Amazonian-like threats, as opposed to the more conventional stuff Jason is used to fighting. But I will say, which series should you buy? Oh, this is difficult because we're not further enough. I'm definitely going to say pick these up. Get the trade. When the trades come out, get the trades, catch up. Trade, the volume 1 of the trade is out, so get volume 1 of the trade. Then when volume 2 comes out, get volume 2, and then catch up with the issues from there. Do you buy New 52, though? If you're just getting into comics, I'd say the better thing to read for Red Hood is... I'd say the better thing to read for Red Hood is Under the Hood and Lost Days. You can skip these. But if you've read Lost Days, if you've read all of these, and you're looking for something Red Hood to read, it's the only protocol you've got. The character hasn't been around that long. You haven't got, infinite amount of options like you have with Batman. He's not been around as long as Batman and Superman. He doesn't have that many options. So, it's either Rebirth, New 52, or pre-New 52, and even then, pre-52, he's only got a couple of books. And he was in Battle for the Cowl as well, but I don't count that, because he wasn't really Red Hood in Battle for the Cowl, if you know what I mean, in the traditional sense. Yeah. If you're just getting into comics, pick these up, because it explains very well what's happened in these, and it also kind of hints at what he took from Pre-52. Because Rebirth is a combination of Pre-52 and New 52. I'm not seeing much in the way of Pre-52, though, in Red Hood and Outlaws, which is a shame, because Pre-52 is my preferred version of the character. I mean, he was a lot more effective in pre-52. I mean, my biggest gripe with these is he seems to have a heavy reliance on his firearms. Which, whereas in this, he could at least pick up a sword and kick some ass. Like, it just, I mean, also, maybe you're the kind of person who does like the other stuff, like the other tones Scott Lobdell was going for. I mean, I found Volume 2 boring. It was set on Tamaran in space, and it was about Starfire, Arsenal, and Red Hood basically helping Corey's people out. And it was very similar to what they did with Who is Artemis, where it's about Artemis helping her people, but the way they did it was a bit more of a consistent tone. Whereas that felt like I was watching a vigilante movie, then suddenly Star Wars came on. That's what that felt like, but maybe that was because of the two characters, it required two different tones. And it's just the handling of Starfire in these books was pretty poor. I'm not gonna lie. Arsenal as well was a bit of an annoying idiot. I didn't really like him. He was just like, in Volume 1, there was a scene that summed him up perfectly. He's talking about like how they're such a great team, and then Jason says, "Oh, really? Then let's address the big elephant in the room." And then Corey like just looks at Jason. She's shaking her head, and then he's like, "Yeah, okay, sure thing. Fire away. What's the elephant?" And they both turn around to him and simultaneously say, "One more word and you're dead." Which I must admit, at that point, it echoed my views, because most of what was coming out of Arsenal's mouth was annoying. Like, he was he was the annoying friend. Like, you know that one friend that everybody loves to hate. That's what Arsenal was in that. And, I can sum these three up as, they're three fucked up people. They've all got their own issues. Like, Red Hood is like, do I even need to tell you what's wrong with Red Hood? Arsenal has drug addiction. Corey has her own demons, which Corey's demons don't really come into play until later into the series. But but it is hinted at she has her own problems, because she's able to emphasize with Jason really well. And actually, one of the better scenes from Volume 1, they're just sat there on this island talking, in the evening, and they just sat there talking, and like, she actually tells Jason some really sound advice, and it's like, you're just thinking like, yeah, I could dig these three as friends. Like, they all have something that allows them to identify with the other one. It's like, Arsenal has an addiction. Jason's mother was addicted to drugs, so he could be like, look, I'm going to help you get off these things, because I don't want you going the same way my mother did. Like, and Corey's like, look, I've got stuff in my past that bugs me, Jason. I can teach you a way to cope. Like, it's like they've all got things they can help each other with. And not only that, when this team works, it works. And then there's moments where it's stupid as hell and it's annoying, because you can see the potential, you can see this working, and it's so close, but just Scott Lobdell's inexperience got in the way. Like, his inexperience with the characters got in the way. Because, I mean, this is the first time I've heard of Scott Lobdell. I'm not saying he was a complete rookie when he wrote this, but, like, in terms of writing Red Hood and writing these kind of characters, I can tell he's a bit out of his comfort zone. And as a consequence, either that or he was smoking something when he wrote these. Because he had a really good idea, but just the execution was poor. Whereas the execution in these are a lot better, but at the end of the day, they connect. So you could argue that they're all one continually flowing story written by Scott Lobdell. So I could say to you, buy all of these, read them. If you get partway through, you don't like them, skip straight to Rebirth. Or I could say to you, skip those, get these, because these are well explained. But at the end of the day, these have been out since 2011. So, 2011 to 2015. So, if you wanted them, you've probably already bought them. Rebirth, it's a different thing. It's a different kettle of fish. It's fairly new. I'd say wait for the trade paperbacks. If you're getting on now, it's too late. Wait for the trades. You've left it too late for the issue, because we're like on issue 15. And you've got a load to catch up on, and it's going to be a load of money. So if I was you, just wait for the trades, do yourself a favour. But, I've kind of been ranting about how... I've probably made these sound like Satan. Like the spawn of Satan. And they're not that bad. They're alright. It's just... It's annoying that, like... The team in this makes more sense than the team in this. But the team in this works, and the team in this is just so dysfunctional. But it's like... The annoying thing is if someone who was better at writing Red Hood... Like, say if you gave this same team to Judd Winnick... I bet you the results would have been so much better than what we got. Because Judd Winnick was the guy who wrote Red Hood originally. And I think if you'd give this exact same team to Judd Winnick, he could have produced Gold Dust. I honestly think he could have done. Because, I mean, like, Judd Winnick is seen as one of those hit or miss writers. Like, you either, like, some of his stuff's either good or it's really crap. But, Red Hood, the creation of Red Hood and Under the Hood was one of those things that was hit. Definitely hit. It was, but then again, there's also people that hate it, because they're like, couldn't he have just created a new character instead of bringing back an old one? But you could make the counter argument, he's took a character that was boring and pointless, and he's given them some purpose. And he's actually made them fairly lucrative, because Rebirth stuff is selling pretty well, and I haven't seen anything that suggests this ain't selling very well. Like, and most of the reviews I've read of this have been pretty positive. Whereas these, it's just Scott Lobdell getting used to the character, and it's like, if you want to see see this as the finished game. Like, you know how games do betas. This is the finished game, this is the beta. You want to see what the game was like before it came out? Yeah, sure thing, play the beta. Or buy these and read them, but at the end of I'd definitely say get Volume 3 and the Future's End issue, though. If you can get your hands on the Future's End issue, definitely. The Future's End issue is definitely worth it, even though I said I wasn't going to cover that in this video. I have to say Future's End issue was really good, and I'll talk about that in another video. But if you're just looking for something to read, you can get them fairly cheap these days. I mean, I bought this for a tenner. Like, from Forbidden Planet. They're fairly cheap. Compared to a trade paperback for Rebirth, it's cheaper. So, if you're just looking for something to read while you're waiting for a series to come back, or you're waiting... If you're like I used to be, and you just wait for the trades, and you're waiting for the next trade for this, you can either save your money, or you can buy this. It's either or. But at the end of the day, I'd definitely say Rebirth is the better product. Like, I was annoyed at this because it had potential and it went down the flipping toilet. Whereas this so far has been pretty good, but the Bizarro Reborn story arc has been concerning me. Because, Bizarro has just started doing some next Star Wars shit, like invisible buildings above the city, and like, I'm just thinking like, oh no, Scott Lobdell's getting lost again. But, at the end of issue 15, I'm kind of thinking that, that might be brought to an end, and we might be going into, like, back to the time we were originally. But it did mention the Suicide Squad being in the next issue, her and the Suicide Squad. So we'll have to see what happens next issue. But so far, the Rebirth had me hooked from about issue 3 or 5. Whereas this took me a lot later to get me hooked into it, and even then, I kind of dropped off. And like, I've got all 7 of the volumes in Red Hood and Arsenal on my shelf. I eventually read all of these, but I got partway through Red Hood and Arsenal and just gave up, because it was just, cringe. Like, how they were trying to go for that really light, campy tone? It doesn't work for these characters. And, I might do another video at some point talking about the importance of tone, because it's clearly needed. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next Carnage video. Sorry this got a little long. And I hope you didn't mind me rambling too much about comics. But then again, that's kind of the point of this show, isn't it? See you in the next one, guys, and goodbye.